Welcome. We are live on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Say hello in the chat and tell us where you're watching from today. So, welcome to NeuroWomen Natter live episode 21. I'm Tony Horn.
I'm Charlie Hart.
And today our podcast is called Late Diagnosed Rage. So, I'm not angry about my diagnosis, far from it. I'm angry that it took 40 years. And I think that's what we're talking about today. I call it the lost 40 plus.
Yeah, definitely relatable to that.
Absolutely. So we're two ADHD women in our 40s, diagnosed late, having a conversation that no one had with us in our 20s. So we're going to be asking each other some questions, and we want your questions as well in the live. Is there anything that you want to ask us, or anything that you just want to get off your chest? As you know, whether you are a male ally looking to understand more, absolutely put your question in there. If you're a woman who is discovering a neurodivergence, put your question in there. If you just want to know more about me and Charlie, ask us. We're more than happy to do it. So Charlie, I think
Thomas Woodham's in the chat there. Hi, Tom.
So Charlie, I'm gonna quiz you first,
Okay.
and then I'll hand over the reins where you can then absolutely quiz me. So, when you finally got your diagnosis, was the first feeling relief, or actually heavier?
So it was definitely relief for me. I just wish I'd known more of the picture. So I thought there were so many different reasons why I was struggling. I thought it was because of childhood stuff, bullying, early adulthood, negative experiences. Maybe I was a psychopath. Yeah, I'd been through therapy because I thought that I didn't, that people weren't warming to me and that I seemed to be really cold, all kinds of things. Then I realised that I was autistic. So I thought it all made sense. Suddenly there's a reason, a concrete reason why I'm struggling, why I'm so overwhelmed, why I so often end up depressed, which I now think was more likely burnout. So it was an incredible relief. There's not something wrong with me. I'm just autistic. So what I am still quite annoyed about, though, is that it took another 6 years to get diagnosed with ADHD. So all through my 40s, right up until I was 49, I didn't have ADHD meds. And as perimenopause was getting worse for me, affecting my executive functioning, my working memory, it meant that I really struggled to cope with my work. So I could really have done with them identifying both at once.
Yeah, no, I agree. So which version of your younger you is harder to grasp?
Yeah, I think it's the fact that the struggles I was going through made me feel like such a loser and so down on myself. So I was lacking self-compassion and self-esteem, which is already dented when you get bullied at school anyway. And through some of those early relationships that I've shared a lot about on this podcast, that just feeling like I couldn't do things that someone of my intelligence should be able to do, and like upsetting people when I didn't mean to, and all that stuff, it made me feel like a loser. And so I just could have done with knowing that there was a valid reason why some things were harder for me. And it would have been helpful to know about the kind of spiky profiles and understand more that there's things I'm really good at and things that are gifts and charming quirks and stuff, rather than just feeling like I'm a total loser and failing at adulthood.
Well, I don't think you're a loser, and I don't think you're failing at all.
Yeah, neither do I now, but it shouldn't have taken me until my 40s to realise that, really.
How did did anyone surprise you, or for better or worse?
Yeah, so my husband responded really well to it. I think once he got past that initial kind of, why do you need another label kind of thing, once he realised more about the implications of it, he really embraced the idea that there's something different about me. So I was a bit worried that people might, due to this sort of nerdy stigma of autism, that people might think that it made me less attractive or less sexy or anything like that. And yeah, I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that out loud. I don't think I have. But so I'm really relieved to see you nodding.
Yeah, no.
I was relieved he still fancied me, even though I was autistic and a nerd, you know. But then I had friends who were like saying, "But you're pretty sociable," and they seemed to. It was hard for me to tell whether they were implying that I wasn't autistic or whether they thought they might be as well, or at least shared some of my experience. It's hard to say. But then I'd also got friends I was trying to talk to about it who I thought were, but that got really fed up hearing about it and completely cut me off. So I had a couple of close friends who completely severed ties and blocked me on WhatsApp and all sorts because I was talking about myself too much when I was going through a period of kind of introspection and retrospection and getting my head around this new diagnosis. So it was a real mixed bag. Work was great, though. I told everyone at work, and they were really supportive and gave me opportunities to talk to the team I was in about how it impacts me and what I want people to understand and all that. It's like further down the line, I've had a few issues with people perhaps not consulting me about things they might have done previously. But at the time, it was all very positive. So, yeah, definitely I could have done with that sooner because I don't think other people got it, like why I struggled with things like meeting behaviours and like influencing people. I knew I'd got no clout, but I didn't know why. I knew I struggled with banter, didn't know why. And it just would have been helpful to have that framing. But pretty much it's all just really good news for me. So how about you? What hit you harder at first when you were first diagnosed, I guess, with, was it dyslexia that came first? And then
first, yeah, I was 17.
So were you relieved? Did the grief hit heavy at that time? So
the 17-year-old me, which I remember sitting in college when I got the diagnosis, because they brought me and my mum in to give me the diagnosis at my actual college where I was at. And it kind of was, that was a sense of relief because there was now a why that, you know, academically I was struggling with. You know, it was so hard to explain that you have all these ideas and information in your head, but it was so hard to get down on paper or do an essay or report. And, you know, I was all, you know, A stars for my performance, but the paperwork would let me down. And then again, it just gave me an answer of, okay, but I still felt stupid.
Yeah.
My dyslexia has always still made me feel stupid.
It's only one piece of the puzzle as well, isn't it?
The puzzle. I was watching Tom Holland last night he was on an interview, and he openly talked about his dyslexia, about how he's not done NSL because of the cue cards. Because people presume because he's an actor and he has to read scripts that he's good at reading, and he was like, absolutely, I can read, but when you get that added pressure of having to read live or read something out loud, again, people, if you're not dyslexic, don't understand that internal pressure. And he was very open and honest about it. And again, it can prevent you from doing things that you want to do. And I grieve that. But I had a huge amount of relief of, okay, well, that explains a lot about my school years.
And what about when you were diagnosed autistic?
Yeah. So again, like you, most people diagnosed with ADHD first before autism, right? I was diagnosed with the autism first. And honestly, I wasn't prepared. I wasn't prepared for it.
How old were you? Remind me.
So I was forced. It was literally a week after my 40th birthday I got my autism diagnosis, because my ADHD one was only last year, and I did it because of all, you know, the similarities, the traits, and obviously the work that I did. I went down the rabbit hole of research and was like, there is too many associations. But again, even for myself, who somebody works in this, still had autistic or stereotype image in my head of what autism was, and it surely couldn't be me. This very, you know, the person who can become across very confident, the person who does all these things outside of work, and but again, understanding the internalization. And if was standing of, oh, okay, and now I start to really understand me better. So somewhat it was a kind of, again, what you said, there was this, I didn't want to tell people because I didn't want people to see me less of.
Yeah, I was quite worried about the stigma, and it's always been important to me that people think I'm attractive. That's a really awful thing to say out loud, but you know a bit about my early adulthood, and it all kind of makes sense. And I really did think it would mean that people would just bully me and think I'm a dork. But
when you with the ADHD one, apart from having been combined ADHD, it didn't come as a surprise, but it did come to a surprise to my husband, because he was like, well, you can't be ADHD because I'm ADHD. It's like we both couldn't, right? Because our ADHD grows up completely differently. So
so when I was diagnosed autistic, I thought he might be as well, but he didn't see it as being a good fit. But then I found out the drummer at the time in our band was ADHD, and I read up on that and thought, well, that describes Si quite a lot, and other people in his family. Shared that with him, and he was like, yeah. And I kind of feel like he thinks ADHD is cool and autistic isn't. I don't know. But I don't think they're two separate things. I think they all mesh together. I really do. But I think that usually ADHD is my side dish, and the main dish is autism. Autism's in the driving seat, planning and preparing everything. But then ADHD, it's there as well, but it's not my dominant neurotype, and I think he might be the other way around. But anyway, I was really pleased to get diagnosed with ADHD because I knew the medication would help me. I don't think that you really need a diagnosis of autism, because self-identification is valid. It's just a collection of traits, and it's easy to research it and look at yourself and how you experience the world, and to understand yourself through the lens of autism. And I honestly don't think that any clinical professional needs to rubber stamp that. They're just telling us what we already know about ourselves. But ADHD, we need that because of the medication.
Yes, absolutely.
What was I going to ask you next? I've lost my question list. What version of yourself did you find the hardest to grieve?
The version of me in my 20s in relationships. I was constantly overthinking everything. Do they actually love me? Where do I fit? Am I enough? That gut feeling that you're never quite enough. Never went away. And at the time, I had no framework of why my brain worked in that way, and why I needed so much reassurance, why everything felt so intense. Then, as you know, coming back to relationships in the past, I had that abusive relationship that I've talked about on this podcast, which I think a lot of people will understand and reshape. It reshaped me completely. I didn't learn more about myself, but the cost of what I became from that is I became switched off emotionally. I become more closed. So I think that my brain went, well, that's not good. We're going to do that ever again. And the cruel irony is that it made me harder to love, which when confirmed everything, I'd always did about. So that cycle, that version of me, I grieve the most, because if I'd known more about myself when I was younger and going through those relationships, one, would I have even entered that relationship? Two, we lost friendships as well as other relationships because of that intensity, that overthinking, that obsessiveness. And that's the person I grieve. But what I don't grieve about that person is that I was very flamboyant, I was very loud, I was very colourful, you know, my hair had purple and pinks in. I actually miss her to an extent, but I've been so institutionalized for 5 years of working for her. I miss her, but I grieve not the younger me knowing.
So, like when I was in my teens, I was doing Amdram and some music stuff, live music stuff, and then like I've done kissograms and all sorts, and always been confident. Then lost it all, and then like in my late 40s, and now I'm 50, and I've got that confidence back. So it's like, I don't think I'm about to be institutionalized, but the me that got curtailed by all of the things that make you feel like you want to shrink and disappear, she's like just come right back out and started shining again. And so I'm living my best life and I love it. But I had to have those 20 years in between, because otherwise I wouldn't have my family and I wouldn't be where I am now. So it's kind of, I wouldn't change. There are things I would change, obviously, in my life, because I have had tragedies, but I don't think I would massively change how my life has panned out in other ways. But how did your people react around you when you realised, when you told them you were autistic?
It was really mixed, really mixed. My dad's still in denial, honestly. He has no concept of it, and don't, and I don't think he ever will. Even though I know that he's neurodivergent. I mean, he's openly dyslexic, but he's definitely, in my opinion, nobody else's opinion, this is my opinion of living with my dad for a certain amount of years, that he's ADHD and dyspraxic. And that in itself is his own kind of grief, carrying alongside everything else. You know, if okay, he doesn't want to accept that, but we still get on with, we don't talk about it. But my mum was more okay. She didn't really know enough about ADHD and autism to fully get what it meant for me. So my mum's that kind of person. She's just like, yeah, okay. She just goes along with everything and don't ask questions unless she's interested in it. But my close friends, they were really kind, and they were accepting. And there was a moment with a few of them where you could almost see the click of, okay, that really explains Tony. And really, it felt both really warm and a little bit strange at the same time, because you think, was I readable? Was everyone seeing the real me, or was I masking with them sometimes? And when I wasn't masking, they were seeing a different version and they were getting confused. So the hardest part was not people reacting badly, or that my dad. The person maybe I wanted to say, I get it, I see you, was Dave, and he did, which, he's the one person in my life all the time. And, when I talk to him, again, it's.
Did he know he was ADHD at that time, or did that come later?
Who, Dave?
Yeah.
Oh, Dave's always known.
He's always known. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he'd already wrapped his head around the concept of being wired differently.
Oh yeah.
And he supported that for you.
Yeah, it made our relationship better, actually, because like I said, we can now communicate with each other about how we are. And, we've talked about this on the podcast of, he knows there's a certain day or a certain week where I just have to react in a certain way, and he goes, okay, I'm leaving.
Yes. Yeah. Do check out the episode about premenstrual dysphoria disorder. Is that what it's called? Yeah. With Samantha Garston. Yeah. But me and Si had a really passionate but volatile relationship for years. And when we realised what we were working with and how rejection sensitivity and meltdowns and all that stuff interacts with it. We just went from strength to strength because we were able to diffuse and then analyze things when we're calmer and make reasonable adjustments for each other instead of just blowing up at each other and getting worse and worse. It could well have saved our marriage, I don't know, but it's certainly helped.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes I really feel like everything that I've just said is writing it all down in a manuscript and actually posting it to some of my old school teachers.
Yeah.
Going, have a read of that, and now tell me that I was lazy. Now tell me that I'm stupid. Just have a little read of it and think about how you used to teach me.
Yeah, definitely. I think that'd be really cool to do. And I want to do the same for managers as well who have tried to change my behaviours. You know, it's always men. No, it's not always men, but this particular one is always men. The ones that say to me, I was trying to explain a long question to you, and you were trying to jump in with an answer rather than listening to me, and all that kind of thing. They think they're helping, but it just made me feel small, and it would be good to get all that out. Hey, we should write a book. I bet we could collect a whole load of neurodivergent women voices with this stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Dear teacher, dear manager, etc.
Yeah.
But where are you now with it all, though? Where does it leave you now?
Actually, you know what? To be honest,
diagnosed ADHD, aren't you?
Yeah, I think I'm in there messy. I'm not where I was when I got first diagnosed. You know, the acute grief that, you know, that softened, you know, and I'm not grieving it at all anymore. Not the diagnosis, but I still have them days of what ifs. I don't think I've fully made peace with it either. And what I found is that the diagnosis gave me permission to stop fighting myself quite as hard. Yeah. And that's not the same as peace. I still don't have peace with everything, but it's something to start. And I think that's where I am at the moment. And I always think I will be working at it. Obviously, because going through perimenopause as well, again, that's added another layer to my neurodiversity that I haven't experienced before, because everything's heightened and everything's changing again, and I've got to start relearning that about myself again. So I don't think I'll ever be at peace with it, but I'm definitely kinder to myself.
Definitely, yeah. So I think it's a journey, and we just keep growing and learning. But the ironic thing is, a lot of the people who are much younger than us already know it all. So I knew it all when I was about 30, and the more I know, the more I realise there still is to know and learn.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I thought I was like the bee's knees at the age of 20. I know this and I know that. Look back now and I go, you were such a fool.
Yeah, definitely. And some of the things that I thought were the source of my difficulties, like generational things, you know, I've then some time down the line, I've thought, well, you know, my parents had their own baggage and so did their grandparents, and all this stuff runs in the family. And there's really no heroes and villains in this story arc. No. It's just, we could have taken a bit more of a shortcut to the happy ending, but there's never a perfect happy ending. I still have a difficult time now from time to time, and I'll still have things that happen that put me right back into that meerkatting, catastrophizing mode, hypervigilant and struggling to cope, even though my life is so designed how I want it to be. Because it's just hard being neurodivergent, even if you know. What do you think about that?
I think life is hard generally.
Yeah.
I really do. Whether you're neurodivergent or not, obviously we've got an extra layer of difficulty of navigating a neurotypical world, and constantly, and I was talking to someone this morning, constantly having to advocate for yourself becomes tiring.
Definitely. Yeah.
That's where the world and the you know, workplace needs to change, is that I shouldn't have to keep advocating for myself.
Yeah. So we can spend a long time trying to meet this societal idea of normal, performing normal, being acceptable. And we can spend a lot of time advocating for our needs, and there's quite a big chunk where we're doing the both of those things, and that could be that messy middle that you're talking about there. So I can't wait until I'm 82 and I wear purple and have lots of cats and tell people to fuck off whenever I want to. And I'm caring what people think.
Get a blue rinse. You get a. Okay,
Yeah.
you get a blue one.
No, I have dreadlocks.
I love that. We got any questions, Charlie?
No, there's one question from Thomas Woodhams saying, what's everyone's thoughts on Alex Partridge? So yeah, I'd like to be an ally to the neurodivergent male community, and particularly to men with ADHD who think they might be autistic. And I'd just like to say to all of those men, you're not too much. It isn't that everyone thinks you're an arrogant asshole and hates you. It's just rejection sensitive dysphoria. And I'm in your corner, so keep going. Yeah. And I can't wait for your next book as well. And yeah, thank you, Alex, for everything you've done to help us women to understand things about ourselves from the completely male perspective. It's really, really helpful. And for any autistic people who are thinking, what's she on about? I'd just like to explain that I was attempting sarcasm there, which is where you use the opposite of the truth for comic effect. And that was being condescending right there, which is what Alex Partridge does all the time. So I think I've probably made my feelings quite vague about that, but there you go. And unless you want to add anything to that, Tony, there's one more comment.
Any more comments? Any more questions?
Ongola Barasa says that they are loving this conversation. Thank you very much.
I'm glad you've got the questions your end. There's no way I would have read that name.
Yeah. I've got no idea whether I pronounced it wrong, but unfortunately there's nothing on Restream that will help me with that. But it's really lovely how every month we see new names popping up. So yeah. We don't have a huge platform. No one's going to sponsor our podcast, and that's good for the listeners. I think you don't have to listen to all the adverts, but just if we're helping a few people, it's worth doing.
And worth noting, we have most of our listeners on our podcast are Australian. They're from Australia.
Wow.
So yeah, when I did, the Australians love us, Charlie.
Yeah. I'd love to do more work with Australians, but it's like the time difference is a pain. I have to talk to them at 8 o'clock in the morning, otherwise it's night time for them.
Absolutely. Okay, so again, we absolutely love going live on these podcasts. If you have missed it, obviously you can rewatch the live on LinkedIn because it's recorded. On mine and Charlie's YouTube channels, it'll be on Charlie's Facebook. And you can also get it on Spotify and I think it's on Apple now. Apple Podcast is on there as well now. So you can always follow up. We've got lots and lots. Again, this is our 21st episode. So
21 of these. That's amazing.
More to listen to. So thank you ever so much for those who've been listening, and thank you for those who are listening at any point in time. We appreciate you.
Thank you.